Hi, Bobcats. I was kind of waiting to see if anyone was going to show up. So, this is Lara, and welcome to your Art Lit lesson. We're going to do this a little differently. Normally, in your Art Lit classes, you're used to seeing a 20-minute presentation about an artist or art style, and then you see a project that you get to do. Well, since we're doing distance learning here, we're going to be doing something that takes very minimal materials. So just a piece of paper, a pencil, eraser. If you have a ruler, you can use a ruler, but you don't have to. So at this point, get your materials together, piece of paper, pencil, eraser, ruler, and then if you want to use crayons or markers, that's great later on. We are going to be doing a lesson on op art, which is optical art. I don't think we've ever done this one before. I'm excited to give you guys a little bit of information about it, but we are actually going to switch it up a little bit, and we are going to do a mini slideshow in the middle of the lesson, so it gives you guys time to keep up. I'm going to start the video that I made that gives you the drawing instructions. And then once we get the basics down, then you can take a little bit of time to continue to draw the lines that we need to be drawing while I can talk about what op art really is. So let's get the video going. And this is going to be a little tricky because we've got a slideshow and a video and it's all new, but I'm so glad we could be here with you today. And I hope everyone is doing very well and having a nice time in this nice weather. So let's get down to this video. Let's see here, and I will answer questions. Let's see as we go here, but I'm going to go ahead and start the video, and then I'll pause it halfway through. Hi. Whoop. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about op art. Op art is short for optical art, and it is two-dimensional art that tends to trick the eye. So it makes it look like things that are just flat are going to be coming off the paper. So our project is going to be tracing our hand and creating it with color if you so choose, or you can just leave it black and white. And so it tricks the eye a little bit. So there's a couple different, here's a black and white version of that. I did a Sharpie on this one, and it kind of looks like your hand's lifting off the paper. It's a pretty fun project. So we're going to go ahead and get started. You need a pencil, eraser, and a piece of paper. If you have markers or pens, that's great because you can use that to create some design. But for now, we're just going to get started with the pencil. So you're going to put your hand pretty far up the paper and spread your hand out. I'm going to take the pencil and I'm going to trace from my wrist all the way up. You don't want to move your hand while you're doing this. Try to hold it down, and that might mean you ask a parent or helper to trace your hand or help you hold your hand or help trace while you hold your hand. So you get all the way down, and you want to fill up the paper so you can see my lines here. Fix those a little bit. So that's our first step. Next step, once you have your hand traced, then you're going to start making the lines. You start from the bottom and you're going to make a straight line. And I would recommend a marker or a pen. But when you make a straight line to your wrist, you're going to make an arc, like a small rainbow, over to the other side. And you want to kind of make the lines match up this direction if you can. And then draw a straight line all the way out to the edge. This is pretty much the whole of the project. So you're going to just keep doing this. You're going to layer them. You can put the arc lines as close together or as far apart as you like. I'll keep doing this a bit. And Try to keep them, probably the same distance. Now, I want you to continue doing these lines up the wrist. I'm going to skip up to the fingers so that you can see what to do when you get to the finger parts here. So I'm going to skip up to here. We're going to do a straight line. At each finger, you want to do a little arc, and then a straight line, and then another arc, and then another arc, and a straight line back out. And I'm going to keep layering those. Between the fingers, don't forget to make almost a U shape or a straight line so it show the different layers away from the fingers that you're arcing over. And that's going to create perspective and depth to the picture. Makes it look layered. Okay. So at this point, if you need to pause the video to go ahead and continue your lines, then go ahead, no problem. I obviously paused the video myself and took care of the lines that I had filled out between the fingers and the wrist. So you can see it starts to form an image. The next step. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to pause the video like I suggested. I hope you all could hear that. It's all trial and error, making it work, right? So that is the beginning of our project. So you guys can just keep drawing your lines, going from the wrist up. You're drawing a line to the wrist, over. I'll show you some pictures here that it might be a little more easy to see. But this was, you're gonna go to the wrist, little rainbow, and then straight line. And you wanna get these two ends as straight as, kind of even as you can. Otherwise, you start to see where I deviated and you start, woo. Here's another example where I kind of started to deviate. It still is fine. There's no problem with that. It still looks really neat as the hand looks like it's lifting off the paper. So just do your work. I'll go through some slides here for you. You see these kind of projects all over Pinterest and the internet. So it's really fun because you can see it's actually really easy to do. Just takes a couple little tricks of knowing how to do it. And it actually has links like to art history, which is exciting. So we're going to go through art history a little bit here like we would do in the classroom with some slides. I'm trying to figure out what's the best. Okay. Op art movement. I just don't like it like that. Let's see. Is that good? Okay. Op art movement. So this is a movement that wasn't just about one artist. It was about a couple different artists, or a few. It was a movement from 1965 to 1970s. And then after that, the movement kind of faded out. It was believed to have started in New York at a showing there, which is kind of fun. So let's see. Op art, again, stands for optical art. It's a form of abstract art or considered kinetic art, and or a version of kinetic art. So it creates optical illusions to fool the eye of the viewer. It's also known as a retinal art, which is a form of kinetic art because it relates to the geometric designs that create feeling or movement. So as you look at these wavy lines, it tricks your eye, and your eye thinks that it's seeing something move that's just really not. And it creates different layering and different effects. And it's really a flat image. This art was first produced in black and white originally, and later you can see the black and white version here, how they used lines to create, so it made it look like it was almost like a ball coming off the paper. And then later they started to use vibrant colors, which made it very interesting as well. This art movement became popular in New York, which we talked about. The
The op art appeared in print graphics, advertising, album art, which you see here. This is a CD cover or album cover for Chicago, which was a band. And fashion design, this is op art design that some woman has some fancy pantsuit on. And then interior decorating, this is actually wallpaper in this scene. Whoops, go back one. Wallpaper with a couch in front of it, but it looks like it's two different rooms. Like it's splitting off and heading off into two different spaces, but it's really just a flat wall with wallpaper on it. So creating some very interesting looks that look like it's deeper, has more depth to the eye. Op art is defined by its two-dimensional presence, 2D, and its magical 3D effects. So it looks 3D, but it's not. You can see in this one, it looks like the lines are twisting and coming out as a triangle of type of line. And it gives the illusion or appearance of volume and shape that would be on a flat canvas or paper. Kinetic artist Victor Vasarely, who was born in 1908 and passed away in 1997, is considered the father of the op art movement. And he specialized mostly in paintings and sculpture. He did earlier in his life the zebras, and then he started mixing into the kinetic art, which is more the geometric, and then heading into the more colorful versions of that. This is another well-known op art artist, Bridget Riley. She's here, and this is her design that's movement in squares, which was done in 1961. But it looks like the design is actually like you're going to go inside and the paper's folding on itself, but it's really just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. She specialized in black and white geometric paintings that created a sense of movement. Certain patterns could cause confusion between the eye and the mind. So what you're seeing, your brain doesn't really understand. And viewing some of these patterns can even cause dizziness for some people. Some definitions that we're looking at for today. 2D is two-dimensional, which we already mentioned, which is art that has length and width, but not depth. And then three-dimensional art, 3D, is art that has length, width, and depth. So some interesting terms to think about. Perspective is when shapes that are smaller look further away and shapes that are bigger appear closer. So if you're drawing big squares or things like that, then they look closer to you, and then you start putting like her picture, this one, it looks like that the perspective is going backwards because her rectangles are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So it creates like a horizon line, like it's going further back. The same can be said for dark colors and light colors. Darker, further away, light colors, forward in the front of the picture to make it look closer. And then this is just a sheet of where we are starting and we're drawing, and then we're going to be coloring in with some color if you so choose. So that's our op art history lesson for the day. Let me know if you have any questions. It's very interesting. And I appreciate everyone viewing in today that is watching and drawing with me. Kendra, it seems like you have some cool art happening. That's great. Any questions, anything? If you want to actually send some of these pictures, email me at byramartleteracy@ttsd.k12.or.us. We can we'll put these up in the district's viewing area at the district office, and we can put them on the website. This is going to be on a couple different platforms if you want to watch this later and continue to do it. So I know our Facebook site, this YouTube site and Instagram, maybe. I don't really follow them all. Yeah, I'm glad you're here today and having some fun drawing. So I'm going to get back to the video now that you guys have all had a chance to do a little drawing, and we'll pop back in there and finish it up. I can remember my codes. Okay. I turn out the lights. Hopefully it helps. Okay. Part 2.
All your lines completed is to go back with your eraser and to erase all of the pencil lines that I traced my hand with. So all you want left on there is marker. So I'm going to go back through and do a quick erase on this. Now in the past, on this, let's see, this picture, I traced with crayon to do the lines. I didn't trace. I used crayons for the lines and pencil for my tracing. And when I started to erase, the crayon smudged. So don't use crayon for your lines. I would use a marker or a pen. Get through here and erase all my finger lines.
So at this point, we should be erasing our pencil lines going around the fingers.
It does take a little bit of time, so you don't have to rush. You can take your time, put the video on pause. Have a party. Okay, so you can see when you're done, it looks really trippy because there's no lines, but there's just this hand coming off the page. Okay, at this point, if you want to leave it black and white, you're totally fine too. You see how it creates that look of dimension. If you want to, at this juncture, get your pens out if you have colors. It's good to use like 2 colors. This picture, they used an orange and a yellow. It makes it look like a sunset almost. We used, on this picture, I used 3 or 4 colors in this, 3 or 4 colors. I wanted to show you that this is marker down here at the bottom. This is crayon up here, and I did not define the lines with marker. I just used that crayon like we talked about. You don't see as much definition in the hand. When you use the darker lines, it pops more. And then I took the crayon on this one and I colored and pushed harder around the outside of the fingers. So it looked darker underneath, and then the fingers were colored with light coloring. So that creates even more depth and dimension. This is what my daughter did, and again, we didn't do dark lines, so you can see it doesn't stand out quite as much. That's why I recommend a dark marker or pen for your lines. So I'm going to go ahead and start, and I want to do 2 colors in between the black lines. So I'm going to just start layering. And again, this will take time. So I'm going to show you just a few lines, and then you can continue to color and take your time. Put this video on pause if you need to. So I'll do a couple. Just remember, don't grab the Sharpie out of a drawer at home unless you check with your parents first, because it is permanent and will soak through the paper, and you don't know what you're marking on. So please use your Crayola or use crayons, something that's washable, unless you check with your family first. Okay, so you can see how this is forming a cool pattern. You don't have to be super detailed with the lines. I kind of let some of them go over the top. Still looks really cool. I've freehanded all the lines. Some people who may want really straight lines might want to use a ruler for these side lines when you're drawing the black. And you can do that if you like. But it's not necessary because it's a free-flowing, interesting piece of art. There we go. So I'm going to let you continue coloring. I will come back and show you my finished product, but you are completing your first op art project. All right, friends, so I have just spent a little time with this. It does take some time, and colored this in, and you can see how awesome that looks once you get it colored in, or not colored in, because this one looks pretty cool too. So you can pick your colors, you can pick crayons, markers, or just do it with a pen and paper. Thank you so much.
All right, so it's our video. At this point, I want to repeat that email address that you can send me the finished pictures to so I can get them posted. That is Byram, Byram Art Literacy at ttsd.k12.or.us. Okay. And then this is going to be shown again, this video on Facebook, Instagram, and this YouTube channel. So the link will be available after this lesson's over. And I would love to see some of your designs and see what you came up with. So if there's any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we're getting close to the end here. And I've had a really great time with you. And I hope you're all doing really well. Awesome. Thanks, Kendra. So anyhow, okay, take care. Send me your finished pictures and have a great day.